Have you been recently diagnosed with Candida overgrowth? Have you not been diagnosed, but all your research online is pointing to your symptoms possibly coming from Candida? Or have you definitely treated Candida in the past, but you feel like you have it again and you're wondering why? If you said yes to any of these questions, then this episode is for you. Continuing with part 2 of our 7 pathogen series, I'm going over the 7 key pathogens that are causing 99% of the symptoms in my clients over the last 6 years, which is over 600 clients. I'm going episode by episode over a myriad of issues, and today is all about Candida. I'm going to be talking about what Candida is, where it lives in the body, common Candida symptoms that can be signs that you have it, some less common symptoms that are talked about for Candida, what the best Candida testing is out there, what testing can give false negatives, very, very important, why the Candida diet and Candida cleanses fail, what natural treatment for Candida you can do instead that does work, and reasons you might not be feeling better even after going through a protocol for Candida. Today, I'm going to debunk every single myth I can think of regarding Candida and how to treat it, because the number one reason that clients who work with me aren't feeling better after a pathogen protocol is because of all the little things that can go wrong, but don't have to go wrong. So in part 2 of this series, I'm going to be pointing you to the fastest way to heal from Candida, because no pathogen needs to be ruling your life. It's time to feel your best, have energy, and get back to living your life. It's time to kill some Candida. Hey friend, welcome to the Better Belly podcast. If you're currently trying endless supplements, doctor visits, and diet changes to heal your mystery symptoms, you are in the right place. We're here to solve the real root causes behind your gut, hormone, skin, sleep, and brain concerns. Literally anything and everything in your body. My name is Allison Jordan. I'm a functional medicine practitioner that has supported over 150 clients just like you to heal problems that no one has been able to fix. You don't need a perfect diet or a random supplement you found on Instagram to heal. You need a proven system that heals your whole body from the inside out. That's what I'm here to share with you, episode by episode. It's time to make health easy again. And just as a reminder, this information is not meant to diagnose, manage, or treat disease. Always consult with your own health practitioner before you make any changes to your health. All right, guys, time to move on to part 2 of our 7-part series on the 7 pathogens keeping you sick. It's really crazy how simple it is, and 7 to some of you might feel like a lot. There's 7 you have to check, and 7 to some of you might be like, just 7? That's not that many. It's true. It's actually not that many. You only need 2 tests to test for all of them well. And there's a couple other tests that can be useful to partner with all these things. We're going to talk about how you can get rid of all these pathogens naturally, no antibiotics. And we're going to also talk today about the symptoms that you can alleviate and relieve when Candida is one of your pathogens you are dealing with. And yes, I said one. The majority of clients who come and work with me, when you are just not feeling well, so you're not feeling well for a long time and you're working on your diet and you're getting red light therapy and you bought a sauna or you go to the sauna or you've tried lots of diet restrictions and just nothing is making you feel better. You don't have just some food sensitivities. You don't have a hormone imbalance. You have multiple pathogens at the root of what's going on. And again, it's not always just pathogens. There can be other things going on, but I'm actually even going to share about those things today so you guys can get a visual of what might be going on. So let's talk about Candida symptoms. What might be some symptoms you can be looking out for that can be signs that you have Candida or can reinforce like, yep, this is probably Candida. So one big one is going to be generally bloating, but especially when it's best in the morning. Basically, you fasted all night, didn't eat, and the Candida also didn't eat, so your belly's flat in the morning, and then your bloating progressively gets worse throughout the day, and then often it's worst at night, even potentially to the point that you can't sleep or you don't sleep well. So it's like your pants fit in the morning and they don't fit in the afternoon to night. You're comfortable in your belly in the morning and you're not comfortable by nighttime. This is the most common, and every time someone says this to me, I'm like, most likely you have Candida, but as you're about to learn on today's episode, it's not just Candida, so keep on listening. Other big signs and red flags for me, if someone says that they get a UTI or vaginal yeast infection one time a year or more, one time a year might seem, that's not that big of a deal. You shouldn't be getting a UTI or vaginal yeast infection one time a year. That's already frequent. And if it's more than that, that's super frequent and a big, big sign of a Candida overgrowth. White coating on your tongue. Oh, before we get on to, I actually have a whole podcast episode on UTIs and vaginal yeast infections. It's episode 105. I put it in the show notes. It's called Clear Your UTIs and Interstitial Cystitis. So I talk a lot about the urinary detox pathway and ways that it can get messed up and how to support it. Go to episode 105 or click the link in the show notes. Next thing, you might have a white coating on your tongue, big sign of Candida overgrowth. It's a sign of some other dysfunction as well. But a lot of that, if you do a really good Candida protocol, which I'm going to talk you through those key points today, that coating on the tongue should improve dramatically. Sugar and carb cravings. Sugar and carb cravings are not really, in my experience, they're not natural. There might be some eating dysregulation using food as comfort, but that's a little different than a craving. It's a soothing pattern. Though sometimes they can feel really similar. The problem is that most of my clients who come work with me, when they say they have sugar and carb cravings, they feel that this is a character problem. This is a willpower problem. They just need to buckle up. They are, lazy or fat or whatever it is that they are succumbing to these horrible sugar and carb cravings, when actually there's Candida growing in their gut, sending out chemicals that are being picked up by the gut lining, then being sent through your nervous system. It's called the neuroendocrine system. Neuro is the nervous system, meaning nerves. Endocrine is hormones or chemicals. It's literally just sending a chemical message that gets picked up by the gut lining and sent to the brain that says, give me carbs. And you perceive it as you wanting carbs, where actually you're being hijacked by a little alien called Candida. Not to sound freaky, but to give you a really strong image there. So sugar and carb cravings go away as soon as we get those Candida overgrowth calm down. Fatigue, joint and muscle pain. This joint and muscle pain is usually and frequently caused by either systemic inflammation, which it just means that the gut lining has been damaged. Now inflammation and inflammatory markers that are being caused by Candida in the gut are being absorbed into the bloodstream and going to the rest of your body. This can cause joint and muscle pain. It can cause skin problems, acne, eczema, psoriasis, etc. But there can also be a component of something called oxalates, because Candida will create excessive amounts of oxalates. And I talk a lot more about this in episode 148, the oxalate episode. And I put the link in the show notes if you want to learn more about oxalates. Another big symptom is going to be brain fog, also sort of related to oxalates and related to that systemic inflammation, meaning whole body inflammation by the bloodstream circulating all the toxins, inflammatory markers caused by Candida that get absorbed through the gut lining. And that brain fog, super not fun. No one loves it. PMS and liver congestion. Well, liver congestion symptoms. And I talk more about liver congestion in episode 69, how to naturally lower your cholesterol without having to give up fat or meat, and episode 118 called Liver, the number one thing you can do to ease bloating and PMS. So I'm going to kind of try to leave it to those episodes, because liver congestion does have its own fun little rabbit trail that you can go down of what is liver congestion? Is that a diagnosis? What is it caused by? How do you fix it? What are symptoms? I get really big into that. But if you have liver congestion, then you're more likely to not deal well with what Candida is causing. You're going to more likely have a lot more symptoms of liver congestion, a big one being PMS. So painful periods, bloating on your period, bowel movement changes on your period. Some of that can be normal, but it's going to be massively exaggerated when you have Candida. Alcohol sensitivity. So, you haven't even, you have a couple sips of alcohol and you already feel woozy, or you're getting bloating, or you just seem to react really strongly to it. It's because Candida feeds on alcohol and fermented things. And so it also already creates its own acetaldehyde. That's really, really important, is that alcohol, the toxin it's creating when we're digesting it, is acetaldehyde. Candida is literally giving you, if you have a Candida overgrowth, you're getting a constant stream of acetaldehyde toxin without drinking any alcohol. So imagine you're already at a 0.25 or a 0.5 or a 1, a full drink worth of acetaldehyde, and then you actually drink alcohol. Yes, you're going to feel the effects fast. Sinus problems of any kind, which I go over in my podcast episode, The Gut Sinus Connection, which is episode 47, and I linked in the show notes. Sinus problem of any kind, so congestion, sinusitis, postnasal drip, chronic sinus infections. Definitely check out, if that's you, go check out that episode and definitely listen to the rest of this one. And then skin problems, which I already mentioned a little bit just because of how the liver has a role in not letting your skin break out. And I have a whole podcast episode, episode 45. The gut skin connection is your gut flaring up your skin. But none of those episodes do as deep of a dive on Candida as we're going to do today. So hold on to your seats. We're about to give you a bunch of juicy information so you can feel very grounded in what Candida is, how to deal with it, ways to avoid bad treatments, so you can save money, save time, and honestly just start feeling better. All right, so just a couple key pointers on what Candida is. Candida is a yeast, so it's not bacteria, it's not virus, it's a yeast. It hangs out in your gut. That's like where it hangs out. There are pathogens that like to hang out in different places. This one is going to be small intestines, maybe large intestine. And unfortunately, what can happen is if you get a lot of Candida overgrowth and there's a lot of gut damage and it becomes permeable, aka you get leaky gut, which you're going to hands down have if you've been sick long enough. It's just like a personal pet peeve. I don't test for leaky gut. It's so obvious with other testing markers and symptoms and health history that you have leaky gut. It is not worth spending money to test for. Just a side note. I personally, like if a practitioner is trying to get you or recommends you to get zonulin, which is a common leaky gut marker, just don't pay for it. Like don't get it. It doesn't matter. You already have leaky gut. There are other markers that can actually show you those things with different types of functional lab testing. So again, it's just kind of overkill to get that marker. It's unnecessary to pay for it. However, getting back to where Candida hangs out, Candida can actually become what we call systemic, meaning it's in other places in the body, bloodstream, cells, things like that, because if there's a lot of overgrowth, it will pass the gut lining wall. If the gut lining is damaged and it's permeable, it gets into the bloodstream and now it's circulating. And that's one reason people can actually have really hard to get rid of Candida, because they did some Candida protocol that lowered the Candida in their gut, but didn't deal with systemic Candida. That's another interesting component. It's not too difficult to manage, but it is really hard to address if you didn't even deal with the gut component of Candida well, which we are about to get into. So the big question is, where do you get this Candida overgrowth? What is happening? So, fun fact, 100% of the population has Candida in their gut. What? Yep. Candida is something it's in my gut right now. It's in your gut. It's in your spouse's gut, in your kid's gut. It is what we call commensal yeast, meaning from all the research we've done, it looks like Candida is good for us. It actually has a lot of positive components and it can live very symbiotically with us. The question is not, do you have Candida? We all have Candida. The question is it overgrown? And I want you to imagine a garden or a yard that is overgrown with weeds or even maybe not even weeds, like good plants. Candida is not even a weed, y'all. It's just like your mint's going crazy. I learned recently mint's like a super aggressive plant. Or just like something you love is just growing really fast. It's taking over. It doesn't look pretty. It's killing other plants because it's growing over them. And that's the question becomes, why is that overgrown? And we have components of our body that are natural gardeners of the body. Naturally, our immune system and our digestive juices and the peristalsis of the gut, which is the natural movement, should be shuffling things along in such a way that it naturally tamps down Candida from overgrowing. It's like a beautiful, free gardener who comes and weed whacks and trims the bushes and pulls back and makes sure that all the plants are in the right spot. So if it's overgrown, the question needs to become, why is it overgrown? Why is your gardener of your body, aka all the components that should be keeping Candida in line, not functioning? And which part of that gardener isn't functioning? Is it 1? Is it 2? Is it 5? And I usually say it's multiple. It's not like 1. It's usually 2 or 3 or 4 components. And we're going to talk about what those components are. So, fun fact, just pairing last week's episode together with this week's episode, up to 65% of people with H. pylori, which we covered in last week's episode, have a Candida overgrowth. So H. pylori is a huge factor in Candida overgrowth. And I just share that information. If you're trying to think of the percent of population, like how many people have a Candida overgrowth, 100% of us have Candida. How many have a Candida overgrowth? I didn't really find solid numbers on this, but we do have more numbers on like H. pylori, which in America, it's about 25 to 35% of Americans have H. pylori. And then 65% of those people are going to have a Candida overgrowth. Crazy, which actually means if you have Candida, you should never be just doing a Candida protocol or a Candida diet or a Candida cleanse. You always should have your practitioner, whoever you're working with, should be doing a test to make sure you do not have H. pylori because it is so freaking common. Fun fact, in my practice, we track the percentage of people who come in and what their lab results are. Of all of the stool tests that we've done, 75% of our clients have H. pylori. So 25 to 35% of Americans have it, but 75% of our clients have H. pylori, which just means if you're sick, because we deal with populations of people who don't feel good. If you already don't feel good and haven't been feeling good for a long time, H. pylori has a much higher likelihood of being present in your body. And then, of course, Candida on top of that. Whoa. All right. So reasons a doctor or functional professional might test you for this. Usually it's going to be the symptoms. If they're a good detective practitioner, they're going to be like, oh, you got sugar and carb cravings. You're really sensitive to alcohol. You got some mood instability. You're always hungry after you eat, meaning like the Candida's like, give me another meal. Oh, your bloating is best in the morning and worst at night, and maybe even keeps you up or is giving you some insomnia. You have a history of antibiotic use. You have a history of H. pylori, or we know you currently have it, then they should be looking for it. If they're not, then the main reasons I think practitioners don't test for Candida is that the practitioner maybe isn't aware of how much Candida can cause havoc on the system. They may be thinking about how Candida is more commensal, meaning it's a happy, it like helps you. It's just not on their radar. They aren't pairing together your symptoms and your health history with like, oh, that sounds like Candida. They're just like not thinking about it. But usually the problem I see is not that your people are not being tested for Candida. Candida is like a favorite pathogen for people to hang out in. And it's a favorite pathogen for people to just think they have or know they have or muscle test for or do a test for. It's popular right now. So the main problem isn't usually not getting a good test or not getting a test at all. The main problem I'm seeing over and over again is really bad Candida treatments. This is where you're given some supplements or antifungals to kill the Candida. Maybe you're put on a Candida diet, which is a low sugar, low carb diet, and then no alcohol or fermented things. And then you feel better on it, but you never address the root causes. So the big point and topic of today, and always the topic of a Candida conversation, is what are those freaking root causes? Now, before we get to them, I do want to talk about the testing you want to do to confirm you have Candida, and also some additional testing you're going to do to gather data to make sure you have a full picture of what your root causes are. Sound good? So here's the testing I recommend. I get a little bit more into some of these testing components in the previous episode on H. pylori, because one of the tests I recommend for Candida I'm about to talk about, called the GI map. I actually talk about why other functional tests like Genova Diagnostics or other non-conventional tests, so like tests or non-functional, so tests you would get done in a hospital, why they can be problematic for H. pylori. And I'm going to refer back to that and just say those still stand true when it comes to Candida. that a lot of other testing is too weak and it's not trustworthy. But the main problem at the end of the day is that people are picking up on Candida. They are not looking for the root causes. So let's talk about this. So the GI map does look for Candida, but it is the weakest marker on that lab. So it can get false negatives, and basically if that test picks up any Candida, so even if it's not red / above the reference range, I still consider that a flaming hot Candida case, because the GI map, which is stool based, meaning poop, it's a little iffy on Candida testing. The best test that is like catches Candida all the time for me, where the GI map might show up as negative or low amounts, the organic acid test by Mosaic Labs is the best for Candida, and it's also going to get some other important pathogens you want to know about, like mold. However, the GI map is going to get you information on the pathogen for H. pylori, the best. Well, oat doesn't even test for it. So if you are going to be successful in your Candida treatment, not just knowing if you have it, but treating it so it doesn't come back and you actually have symptom relief, you're going to need both of these tests, the GI map for the H. pylori marker, and there's some digestive markers that you can use on there, in the organic acids test. The next test is the HTMA test. This is hair tissue mineral analysis. It does not tell you anything about pathogens, but it does tell you about heavy metals. And Candida has been shown to increase in people who have high heavy metal levels. And it's thought, we don't have like direct one-on-one proof yet, but it's thought that the Candida is actually our body's enabling and allowing Candida to overgrow to protect us from the heavy metals, so that it digests and takes on the heavy metals instead of us having to do that, which is just crazy and gnarly and fascinating. So an HTMA test to see what your heavy metals are like. If you have a high amount of heavy metals, that is causing your body to incentivize itself to let Candida overgrow. It can be really hard to get rid of Candida, even if you do 3 different treatment protocols and Candida cleanses and Candida diets. You should not need to be doing a Candida cleanse or Candida diet or antifungal or take supplements for Candida every year or every few months. You should not. Your body should naturally weed whack all of that Candida overgrowth. And then the last thing that I just do not see people doing or talking about that has been life-changing for some of my clients, not all of them, but some of them, they need visceral manipulation evaluation to determine, do they have visceral adhesions? This is done by a practitioner who knows how to do visceral manipulation. If you want to find someone near you who can do that, go to betterbellytherapies.com/find. And I have a tool and resource guide to show you how to find someone near you using a directory, and how to even evaluate, are they a good practitioner? How skilled are they, etc. So just go to betterbellytherapies.com/find if you want to find one of those people. It's what I did and what I used to do with my clients. So when I had an in-person practice, so tons of experience with this personally. Visceral adhesions can cause your body to not move things through it, meaning your peristalsis, or the natural movement of the gut, is impaired, and that will cause Candida overgrowth. It's basically you can't get the garbage out fast enough, and so you're going to have you're going to be set up for both a bacterial overgrowth, both SIBO and non-SIBO bacterial overgrowths, as well as yeast overgrowths, particularly Candida. You can get access to all of these labs and evaluation methods I just mentioned in my program, the Better Belly Blueprint. Just go to betterbellytherapies.com/training if you want to learn more about how the blueprint works, what the pricing is like, how much coaching and support you get, the videos, the courses involved, everything, all those details, why it actually gets people results when they haven't gotten results before. We go over every part of that in the training. So go to betterbellytherapies.com/training or click the link in the show notes, and you can get access to all of these labs inside that program at wholesale pricing. Just press a button, super easy. It's the first thing you do in the program is order these labs, and you're going to save tons and tons of money. Now, some other things that if you have some blood work handy, you can actually look at that might suggest if you have Candida. They are not Candida tests, but they are potential signs of it. Is low calcium and low protein on your blood work, and low for a functional lab range means below 9.5 for calcium, and for protein it's below 6.9. These are signs that you have low stomach acid, and low stomach acid is a huge component of having Candida. And low stomach acid doesn't mean you don't have acid reflux. It actually is the main cause of acid reflux. So if you also have bloating and acid reflux, or burning in the stomach, or indigestion, or constipation, these are all signs of low stomach acid. And you definitely, if your blood work also shows low calcium and low protein, big sign that you need to be looking into H. pylori, Candida, low stomach acid. And digestive enzymes cannot fix low stomach acid, especially if you have H. pylori. You have to get rid of H. pylori first because it's unsafe to give yourself betaine HCl, which is stomach acid, until you don't have H. pylori anymore. So that's just like and literally my program, if this feels confusing at all, my program takes you step by step through this process to make it super easy. You don't have to be like, did I do this step wrong? Did I forget something? It's literally like lesson by lesson. Here's what you do first. Here's what you do second. Here's what you do third. And you can do it at your own pace, and you get lifetime access to the course and lifetime access to lab ordering. Super powerful stuff. The next thing is going to be on your blood work, low alkaline phosphatase. This is on the comprehensive metabolic panel. It's going to be lower than 70 if you're using a functional lab range. Alkaline phosphatase correlates with zinc levels, and zinc has a big impact on stomach acid levels. If you want to know more about that, go and listen to episode... I thought I'd grabbed that already. Oh, here it is. Episode 40, Reduce Acid Reflux with the Magic Power of Zinc. And I just talk a little bit more about the role of zinc in acid reflux and low stomach acid. But it also has a role in Candida. If you want a full spreadsheet of every single piece of blood work that I recommend you have, and the functional lab ranges for those markers, go to betterbellytherapies.com/blood, and you can get that spreadsheet for a super low price. And just use it for all of your past blood work, all of your future blood work. Keep an eye on it. It automatically pre-populates. And as soon as you put a number in, it'll turn blue for low, red for high. So it's super visually easy to look through. And you'll automatically populate with potential causes and correlations of that marker being high or low. So it immediately gives you feedback on what might be causing those things. You can take that to your doctor, your naturopathic doctor, your functional health practitioner, bring it to the Better Belly Blueprint program. And it is so helpful, especially with data if you're already getting blood work. If you can analyze it well with a functional lab range, which I do have a podcast episode on. If you're like, what the heck is a functional lab range, Allison, and why should I care? I'm going to link that episode in the podcast. It's going to be something about like why your doctor isn't reading your blood work right and how you can do it better, something like that. That's going to tell you the difference between a functional lab range and a standard lab range, and it's going to blow your mind. Okay, so signs of a good Candida protocol, one that I'm like, wow, that'll work. Your symptoms will go away. This thing's not going to regrow. You're not just like band-aiding it and then it just kind of bushes up again. You actually fix your gardener. You bring it back in so that your body weeds on its own and you don't have to buy expensive supplements or go on annoying diets regularly. Just like be done with that. You want to look at 4 main causes. Number 1, low digestive enzymes. There are 3 digestive enzymes. Stomach acid, you're going to want to be looking at things like H. pylori, low zinc levels, and do what I call a stomach acid protocol, where you actually rebuild your body's ability to create stomach acid, which you can only do again after you know you don't have H. pylori. Otherwise, your symptoms could get way worse because the H. pylori will grow off of the stomach acid production. But stomach acid's a huge one, including H. pylori, then bile, which is produced by the liver. And if your bile is low, you're not going to be able to weed whack all the bacteria in your gut along with a bunch of other things. And the big thing here is you want to be able to support your liver and make sure that it's not being overloaded with toxins. And then last is pancreatic enzymes, which usually, in my experience, in my practice, fixes itself as soon as stomach acid is fixed, because pancreatic enzymes, they actually get a chemical message from the body to release when stomach acid levels or the pH of the food going from the stomach into the small intestine is a certain level. So if it's not high enough pH, then the pancreatic enzymes don't get that message to release, and now you have two problems and not just one. So those are the three that you want to fix. It is not enough to take digestive enzymes. Digestive enzymes are a fraction of how much support you need and how much enzymes you need, and they're not a long-term solution. They're like giving you crutches. Yes, I'm so glad that you can get crutches so you can get around day to day, but crutches are also like not fun, and ultimately you want that bone to heal so you can walk around again and not rely on crutches. I don't know of any other program. I don't hear of other people saying they're healing their people's ability to create their own stomach acid. It's not rocket science. It's just maybe it's not sexy. I don't know. But that's what we do inside the Better Belly Blueprint. It's a part of our normal pathway. And if you don't need it, we help you know if you need that protocol or not. But if you do need it, which is a bunch of our clients, then we also give you that protocol so you know what to do. And again, if you want to join the Blueprint, it is the hands down the most affordable solution to healing that I know. A to Z, super easy steps, just 1, 2, 3, move forward. If you want to learn more about that, go to betterbellytherapies.com/training. But that's number one. The number one main cause is low digestive enzymes. The second big cause is other pathogens, H. pylori, which we've covered, parasites, because the immune system basically gets distracted with other pathogens, and Candida is just like, woohoo, we're not being taken care of, and they overgrow. Mold is huge because mold is in the same family of like yeast fungi, right? So if it's in the body, mold is immunosuppressant, meaning it reduces your immune response, big component of gardening in the gut. Mold damages the gut lining, particularly slowing down the myoenteric plexus, meaning how fast the muscles are moving in the gut. So you're not getting that peristalsis moving things through and keeping Candida and bacteria from overgrowing. So mold also has a component in SIBO, or bacterial overgrowth. And then a history of antibiotic use, which isn't quite present pathogens, but it is related to the fact that when you just mow down all your healthy bacteria, while also trying to kill a bunch of bad things with antibiotics, then you set yourself up for Candida to regrow faster than the rest of your healthy microbiome, and then that's a big reason you could have Candida overgrowth. Third is heavy metals, because Candida overgrows to protect us and it will absorb those toxins, but you need to get rid of the toxins so the body stops letting Candida overgrow. And then lastly, abdominal adhesions, which you can assess yourself for with visceral manipulation evaluation from a trained professional, or my visceral self-evaluation tests that I teach inside of the Better Belly Blueprint. There are 3 of them. They are super effective, super accurate. And then if you test positive for those, you can then go get treatments from a visceral manipulation professional. And also I teach you how to do visceral stretching techniques on yourself that you can just do at home to improve the mobility of your gut and improve digestion, releasing pathogens, all those fun things. Now, there is one additional cause that I have seen rarely, because the intake has to be so high for it to cause irreversible Candida overgrowth that it just hasn't been in my practice a ton. But basically it's really high sugar and carb intake and then high alcohol intake, especially when it's high sugar and carb intake that's not offset by like protein and fats and anything else. So that could be a season of your life. Maybe it was a lot of times, like in the one client I can think of where this was the case, it was a college student who their freshman year just had a very high amount of alcohol. And by the time she was seeing me, it was like halfway through her sophomore year, she had stopped drinking alcohol because she figured out it was not helping her, but she now had these lingering symptoms and they were all related to Candida. That's the only client I can think of where food was the initiator, and that we still worked on the other 4 components: digestive enzymes, pathogens, heavy metals, and abdominal adhesions. But I really think that she had like an event happen to her, or a season where she had high alcohol intake that set her up. But in general, you should be able to eat sugar. Like I eat cake and cookies and muffins and fruit. Like you should be able to eat things that have sugar in them without getting a Candida overgrowth. If you are eating those, like I have clients that are like, as soon as I eat a piece of fruit, I blow up. it must be my candida. No, it's the fact that your body is not, the root causes of candida are present, and your body cannot keep candida in a normal range. And so the candida is overreacting to fruit. You should be able to eat fruit. Now, everybody asks me this. So it's my last point on this, on candida, which is, do I think you need to be avoiding certain foods while doing a candida protocol? So I do not have my clients avoid real fruit. So like a piece of apple, I do have them avoid fruit juice, like apple juice, even if there's no sugar added. It's just really refined. There's no fiber. There's a lot of other nutrients have broken down and are not present once it's a juice form. So cranberry juice, orange juice, fruit juice. Cranberry juice sometimes is fine if there's no sugar added. It's usually just super tart. Fruit smoothies, if it's a lot of fruit, like a banana and an apple and a strawberry and then some milk, that's not going to sit well. Your candida will react to that. Cakes, cookies, ice cream, even if they are gluten-free or dairy-free or, fit other food restrictions you may be following, they just have a lot of sugar in them. So no processed sugar, no high sugar foods. I do have clients use small amounts of coconut sugar on like yogurt or something if they're going to add some sugar, and that's usually fine. It's like some honey, some maple syrup, I don't have them avoid carbs. Like eat a pancake if it doesn't have like tons of sugar laden on it. And you're going to have a better time with your gut if you add in like an egg or sausage or something that's going to slow down or like basically water down that carb and sugar intake. But you can also feel it out with your own gut and system of what is your sugar. There's a sugar threshold in terms of what's going to cue a symptom or make it much worse. I usually say no alcohol because candida is just going to go crazy. No fermented foods. That's kombucha, kimchi, sauerkraut, anything that's fermented will make candida go super unhappy. No probiotics, which is basically just adding more overgrowth into an overgrown system. And then no collagen because candida converts collagen into oxalates, and oxalates can create a lot of symptoms for you, which, again, if you haven't heard of oxalates, you want to know more about it, you can go listen to episode 148, the oxalate episode, which I linked in the show notes. So that is it. That's the candida episode, the symptoms, what it is, it's a yeast, where it is in the gut or possibly systemically in your whole body, how you get it. There's 4 main causes. Signs, I guess one thing that I could talk about explicitly is signs. Here are signs of a bad candida protocol. If you're just like, how do I know if I'm working with a practitioner and this protocol might not work? Maybe you're on a protocol for candida right now and you're like, it's not making a difference, or I'm on my 3rd protocol for candida, or you're being proactive and you haven't started it, but you want to know what to do, right? Here's the signs. If your practitioner is not talking to you about the root causes of candida, meaning they're not talking about fixing your ability to digest, like fixing it, not giving you a digestive enzyme, like giving you a stomach acid protocol, helping your liver heal. If they are not talking about other pathogens like H. pylori, parasites, mold, if they are not doing a heavy metal test, if they are not talking about abdominal adhesions, run away. If they are only talking about a candida diet or a candida cleanse or taking supplements to kill candida, run away, because that protocol will not work, or it will only work while you're on it, which takes an immense amount of work to be on a low sugar, low carb diet and be taking the supplements, which cost money, and then get off of it and all your symptoms come back because it just regrows. Just run away. Instead, you can come join the Better Belly Blueprint, where I have all of the steps to kill candida once and for all, step by step, and easy to do chunks. Go to betterbellytherapies.com/training and you can learn exactly how this works for you, so you can get a customized health plan specifically designed for you, get the lab testing you need to know what protocols to even do, and finally have a life that's free not only of candida, but of fatigue and bloating and headaches and skin problems and brain fog, and you can finally just live your life again, move on, and not have to think about your health and how you don't feel good after a meal, or not know why you don't feel good after a meal and have the worry there. Just no more worry, live your life, feel good, don't have bloating in the evening, have pants that fit all day. It's the good things in life. So go to betterbellytherapies.com/training if you want to know how that all works. And I hope to see you in there. And if not, I hope that this episode gives you a lot more insight and you can go check out all the other episodes that I mentioned in here, because seriously, healing for you is one step away. It is not complex. I mean, it is because other people haven't figured it out. And I truly believe that you've worked really hard on your health, but I do not have to do Candida cleanses once a year or twice a year or 3 times a year. I do not have symptoms of Candida. I used to have Candida and now I don't. And it's made my health so easy to manage. And that's what I want for you too. You are not unique or special in terms of these things can't work. They 100% work. And you just need someone who can help you find all those things and deal with them in the right order. So thank you so much for spending your time with me this week or today or this hour, whatever you're doing. And I hope to catch you on the next episode on the Better Belly podcast.